Okay, so I don't know what happened to my computer. It lost video and audio in every browser. So right now I'm on the iPad, and I guess I have to restart the computer. That's the only thing that would make sense because multiple browsers lost. Oh wait, it's asking for permission. We might be okay. We might be okay. Yes, we are. Some unknown app was asking for access to the camera and microphone, and apparently the Apple security model is that it will they'll suspend everybody's access to the mic, and it's not sufficient. So turn this iPad off, and we will get started. So first up, good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. You might have a new setup today. The new equipment has finally arrived. And because of all of what was going on there, I don't have the articles pulled up just yet. Let me do that. Let's see here. So we're going to start with something that's not quite. I don't know why my frame rate is so low. Oh, there it goes. Let's come back. I'm going to start with one that's not quite green and green cars and that sort of thing, but it is still cars. And now the notebook is broken. How am I going to do this? I guess I'll force close it and then open it back up again. And then Apple thinks they know better than me with their stage manager, and they will shuffle everything. Force quits. All right, so we have chat. And Facebook's not blocking our chat this week. I don't think they were last week either, but they were the week before. Maybe mess that up. All right, so the notes have closed. Let's open it back up again. All right. So normally you guys were sitting right here, and now you're right here. Oh, it opens up right there. That's super useful. Thanks, Apple. On a whole different screen than it left on. Whatever. Close that. Open these back up. Drag the notes on top of them. Now we're getting somewhere. All right. Like I said, this first one is not exactly car related, but or not exactly green related, but it's cars. So we'll go with that. Why would you open? I specifically clicked the other window, computer. We're gonna move this to the window I want. The one called New Tab. There we all are. And then we're gonna share screen. Share screen. This one. All right, so Swift on security, she's sharing this. Oh, now we got the spinning beach ball thing. Great. Okay, there we go. And put us down here. So Swift on security is sharing a tweet about a bad valet experience. So she says, OMG, Audi RS7 owner gets to the hotel to sleep, finds out that the valet took his car to a car meet, and where he was then robbed of the car by people who then destroyed it. And like this is just like I don't know how I want to describe it, but it's not good. Right, so we're gonna copy this URL and we're gonna paste it on top of the one we're on, just so we don't have to switch tabs around. All right, so this is ridiculous. Where is it right here? So I mean, they go on with, you know, a lot of us don't have good valet experiences. Let's see. So he told Fox 45, he gave his keys to a hotel valet and woke up to the news that his car was stolen. The manager said that the man whom he gave his car keys to took the car to a car meet where it was taken from that guy at gunpoint. And it was later located, completely trashed, and now he's out thousands. Hopefully, he was properly insured for this thing. All right, this happened months ago. I didn't, I didn't watch the YouTube video. All right, so the guy got there, and three armed thieves allegedly took the car from him. It was later found by police abandoned outside an apartment complex. The trunk was also soaked with gasoline, and learned about it from the hotel manager, who explained that what had happened the next morning. The valet is being charged criminally. However, this doesn't exactly fix the car. The car was totaled, and it's unclear from the local news reports how the situation is being resolved. Insurance will likely compensate Eller if he has the right coverage. Here's the fun part. Uh, for its part, the hotel had possibly the worst reaction to all of this unfolding. Instead of offering any kind of financial restitution, it reportedly offered Eller a free stay at a later date. They probably thought it was a pretty slick idea since he doesn't have a car that one of its valets can steal anymore. Very wise. And this is not an isolated incident. I mean, the extent of how badly it went, probably. But people wonder why I don't want to valet my car. Some of the comments were interesting. I don't know how many more were here than when I last saw it. So let's see if I can't find them. Employed by an independent valet company and that the hotel leases. So sue the valet company. They're required to be insured by law for this reason. And sue the hotel, which of course has insurance, into the millions. I'm not recognizing any of the I'm not recognizing any of the comments. I mean, I see some of them, but I'm not recognizing any of the ones I wanted to bring up. All right, so let's get into on-topic discussions. Let's pull a couple of. Let's start with a tweet from Sawyer. Why are you pulling it into this window? That makes absolutely no sense. We weren't even on this window. All right, move this over here to the Valley Joyride. Click in this window so it knows where we're trying to be. Come back to the notes. And then we'll see an op-ed about EV demand, which opens in the wrong window. I don't understand it. Is this not the same browser? I think it's the same browser. We'll just keep shuffling everything in there. It's extra clicks for no reason. This worked last night. And then we'll talk about Hyundai actually walking the walk. And then we'll talk about some news that we weren't expecting to be followed so closely. Then, yeah, because I need the articles to open up here and not down here. I guess I should just be glad I didn't have to restart it to get the camera and microphone back on. All right, after I get done covering you guys up with articles, we'll see if the comments are working. I should probably move that from way over my shoulder to something I can see. There we go. And now I've clicked it, the articles will open there instead. Let's see. Yes. And we'll talk about BMW. Sort of kind of doing what they said they would do. Probably not in the way they were intending. And then we'll talk about fleet cars. All right. Let me move these things off the top of you guys. Move to here. Oh boy. Move to there. I guess I could just no. I was gonna say let it go somewhere else and then just. Oh, you know what? On the next batch, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna move you guys to a new window when it dumps everything into your window. All right. should be there now. All right. And all right, so I don't see chat, but I see chat is there. I don't see anything in it. That's fine. And now, close that. Come here, share this tab instead. Close that. All right, so Volvo has officially unveiled the EM90, an all-electric minivan. This is Volvo's first ever minivan. It has a starting price of $114,000 US, has 268 horsepower with 0 to 60 in just 8.3 seconds. You'll see why that doesn't really matter in a moment. It's rear-wheel drive. It's 100. It does still matter. This thing is slower than a Prius. I mean, not that you have to be zipping it everywhere, but it is really nice to be able to zip it somewhere. We've got a 116 kilowatt hour battery pack, which means it should have some range if it's anything slightly aerodynamic. It doesn't look it by its shape, but that doesn't mean that they didn't work some wonders. It's got a 459-mile CLTC range, which, as we know, does not compare to the US EPA. It's got bidirectional charging while seating 6. You got a 15.6-inch screen in the headliner, so it's going to pop down for the kiddos. We got a 21-speaker sound system, and available to pre-order in China with deliveries beginning shortly. Available to other markets later. And that's why it being slower than a gas car, like a standard bog standard gas car, doesn't matter because it's in China, and the speeds, you should be keeping it down there anyway. Eddie says newsletters. I'm moving on up now. Newsletters. I am confused. I probably should start a newsletter, but it's a lot of work doing this. So we'll see. I'll give it some consideration. And let's see. And let's look at the next part of this. I think we have an article on this thing. I thought we did. Let me go back to the notes. Nope. I know why. I started to do it, but I saw it's China only, and they can't do anything with us here. So it was kind of a waste of your guys' time with all the stuff we have to cover for the rest of the day. So I deleted it. All right. So next we've got an op-ed, and it is, which is it already? Is U.S. EV demand slowing or growing? Both. So the legacy automakers are complaining that they can't move EVs for various reasons, from them charging too much to their dealers not making them available for people to see and test drive, and trying to skirt them off for something cheaper, something easier to make deliveries on, because the quicker you can make your deliveries, the quicker you can move on to the next car. So I didn't actually read this article. I just wanted to use the talking point. We also then look at our friends over at, let's start with Rivian and Tesla and on and on, all these direct-to-consumer plays. And they aren't really having any trouble moving their EVs. I mean, you've got Rivian just started throwing in chargers through the end of the year, like home chargers. And Tesla's been raising and lowering their prices and adding and removing incentives the whole time, but every one they make is getting sold. So that tells you something right there. So let's see what Electra thinks about this, and hopefully they said the same thing I did. Let's see, media demands. October 12th, EV sales. Oh, that's the other thing. It's like when you look at the actual numbers, even with the legacies, EV sales are up month after month after month, and their percentage of all sales is up year over year. Yes, there have been little dips in the numbers, but if you look at those numbers for the whole market, like look at the combustion cars too, they're doing the same thing. All right, so Cox Automotive says on October 12th that EV sales volumes were they had set another record in Q3. BEVs passed 300,000 for the first time in the U.S., and that's just the U.S. market. That's 49.8% increase year over year. What's more, the market is firmly on track to surpass 1 million this year for the first time ever. And that's just, again, in the U.S. market, because don't forget that Tesla is on track to hit almost 2 million as one company by the end of the year. Let's see. Change is never easy. So look at GM as an example. They abandoned their plan to build 400,000 EVs by mid-2024 and will wait several months to begin some new EV models. CFO says in Q3 earnings call that slowing demand was not something the company was seeing in its portfolio. He noted the customers have been remarkably resilient in the order book and continuing to keep their, I probably should increase the size of this text again, their orders in the books. I've even searched the call's transcript for the phrase slowing demand, and it was nowhere to be found. So it sounds like a media narrative, right? Maybe the fossil lobby, eh? Let's see. Cited data. Perhaps it's not that EV sales aren't growing, just growing slowly. Or it's growing much less growing quickly. What? That's an odd sentence right there at this size. Perhaps they're not selling as fast as OEMs want them to. Yeah, I'll give you that. They've staked a lot on the EV transition. It's a big trend. Yeah, but you're funding your EVs with your fossils, and if the whole market is going down, if you're losing fossils to both the market and to your EVs, you need the transition to be quick and boop. We've got some more articles later on that show that even though the legacy American manufacturers are slowing their investments, not everybody is slowing their investments. In fact, we've already loaded up a couple of the articles that start to show us that now, but we'll get to them in just a moment. All right, so top comment says, is it possible for both to be true that the rate of growth could be decreasing while overall growth is still increasing? It doesn't make for great clickbait, however. And as we see with the regular news media, they want you to click, and the easiest way to get you to click is doom and gloom and bad prognostications, so on and so forth. The computer's complaining that my CPU load is high. I'm aware. We'll get a new computer eventually. Let's see. Is there an electric? Well, the whole thing is a commentary, so there isn't going to be an electric take on this one. All right, so let's move on, because we don't need to buy into their doom and gloom. And yeah, we don't need the minivan anymore either. All right. So Hyundai Motor breaks ground on a $1.5 billion EV plant in South Korea. I thought it was later in the show than this, but here we are. So if you thought that EV demand was slowing, would you invest almost $2 billion in a plant for EVs? No, you wouldn't. Now, what's going on with the legacies here in the States? Only thing I can think of is it has something to do with what came out of their negotiations with labor contracts, because you had GM talking about unionizing a battery plant, and then you have GM and Ford talking about slowing their union investments. And before the strikes, they were talking about, oh, we don't want to make EVs because they're going to put people out of work. I don't know why it's against policy to retrain or reallocate the people from one project to another that is related to what they do, but it is. I don't want to take a 10-hour class on how to bend battery casings instead of bending fuel tanks. So anyway, 2 trillion won in South Korea, and I think they said it was 200,000 EVs a year, but I wanted to confirm that right there. 200,000 EVs a year in their new South Korea plant. They've already broken ground on. So if that's not a vote of confidence. Give me my mouse back. Oh, this computer is always trying to fight me. And that's all I wanted to cover with that. Moving on. So last week we talked about BP buying $100 million of supercharger V4s from Tesla. Now the EG Group, they're a European company, and so at first I thought these were for European um, V4 superchargers, and it doesn't mean they're not. But somebody else pointed out to me that they own a lot of gas stations here in the states. Think of a lot of them that have weird spellings, not necessarily come and go, but like that. Uh, Not marathon. I think marathon even. Let's see if you know what, we'll look it up. We'll look it up together and see who EG Group owns, and then we'll have a list. So it's basically going to be the same deal as BP. They're going to buy these stations. They're going to install them themselves, and what, the whole article in there. Sweet. All right, so let's go to there's the EV Point. That's how they're going to brand these. That's why I thought it was in the UK because EV Point. Uh, it's a very European photo, but let's also look at who they own in the states. Let's drag this up here. Oh, that's helpful. Oh, I know why. The domain. I tried this earlier. The TLD, the top level domain is .group, which I don't think is accurate. So let's do. Let me open a new tab. I don't know what I'm gonna find here. And let's look up EG Group stations. All right, so we got EG America. So this screen in front of the camera is super low resolution, and so the cookie pop-ups and this header take up all of the space. You don't need to know where I am. EG Group of America would like to know your location. Okay, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted it to do. So we're going to go here and share this tab instead. We're going to close that other one. So EG Group of America owns Cumberland Farms, Turkey Hill, Certified, Quick Stop, Fast Track, Tom Thumb, Loaf and Jug. That's why I was thinking come and go because it's the same sort of thing. Uh, Quick Shop, Sprint. That's a bigger one that I've seen around. Minute Mart, and they have a smart pay. Where's that? All right, so those are their North American parts. Timothy says, "Greetings from Arizona!" Exclamation point. Indeed. Thank you. Greetings. All right, so we're done with the gas station. So their situation is the same as BP's. They have a lot of stations in the U.S. and in Europe, and they've just bought themselves an undisclosed amount of supercharger hardware into the millions of dollars. Undisclosed, though. All right, so next up is apparently. Why would I load it twice? I don't know why I loaded it twice. So we displays the EG branded product, and we saw that in the bottom of Jan's um, Juan's newsletter. I, I don't know why I have it twice. I should have cleaned that one up like I did the other one for the China minivan. All right, so then we've got Sawyer posting on X news. BMW no longer builds combustion engines in Germany. So then we'll switch over to the article they linked to from Automobile. Electrive in the automobile category. BMW no longer builds combustion engines in Germany. They have ended production of combustion engines at its main plant in Munich. The long announced step was taken to make room for the production of electric cars at the Bavarian plant. So they said they were going to do it, and they waited a long time. And here it is. They finally did it. No more combustion engines at this plant. So the next step of news will be when they no longer make combustion engines at all. And that's all I wanted to say about that. All right. Next, we've got another post from Sawyer. We'll go to the post and then we'll go through the article. So it says news. Parker's has named the Tesla Model Y as the company car of the year in its awards for 2024. With a choice of three powertrains, there's a Model Y to suit a variety of needs and budgets. And so my understanding is this is kind of more of a UK thing where company cars of this nature are more common. But hey, an EV winning the awards is awesome. And as Musk says, they want to be the best car. They don't want to be the best electric car. Oh, interesting. Something popped up way from the bottom of this. Okay, there we go. Weird. If I scroll down, it practically disappears. Let me take this off this screen and see what's going on. There's probably some garbage loading up. I'm gonna move this to a new window. And we're gonna drag it down. And there's something going on. I wonder if it's like a. I've got something for this. Ah, I told you I got something for this. And create. Boom. All right, here we go. So it was some sort of advertisement. So Parker's has named the Tesla Model Y its company car of the year in its new car awards for 2024. And the electric SUV was praised for its combination of efficiency, dynamics, and long range, coupled with access to the supercharger network and attractive taxation for company car drivers. It finishes ahead of the BMW i4 and the MG4 EV in this year's awards. So yeah, this is definitely a European deal. Let's see. Parker's partnered with Fleet News to establish a winner for the best company car and award. Uh, establish a winner for the best company car award in Parker's New Car Awards 2024. The winner has been revealed as one of a total of 18 award-winning vehicles announced by Parker's. So congratulations to Tesla on that. Our focus is still set right. Let's see if opening the next articles in it do what we expect. All right, yeah, that one's fun. Nope, it's still open on top of your guys' window. So, so this one I put in the notes. I thought this was done, but it's ramping up. And then I put some tweets, and then I realized that I wasn't the right person to be talking about these exclusively. So I reached out to a Swedish friend of ours, and let me move you guys to a new window, and we'll get started. So let's move tab to a new window. There you are. Then we will share this tab instead. Close the old one. Close EG group. Move this to the window I want. There we go. And as I said, Tesla highlights a long list of factors used to calculate battery on arrival. So let's start with the tweet itself, just because I liked it. I've received a message. All right, so let me minimize this. And we're going to share this tab instead. All right, so Tesla of North, they said your car does for you. When calculating a route and battery on percent on arrival, Tesla navigation takes into account. And this has grown. We talked about this on the Tesla Life this week. This has grown incredibly from uh, when I got my first Tesla, and even when I got this Tesla, and it kept. I'm pointing out where it's parked, and to this day, like the range predictions have become more and more accurate. This table and get closer to you guys. There we go. So they calculate wind speed and direction, which that was one of the first ones they started to do, but they've refined it to a science. Elevation and grade, that was also one that was in there right away. It was in there when I had my first one. I don't know if it was in there immediately, but it was in there out of the box when I got mine. Elevation and grade, traffic speed, average acceleration and deceleration, ambient temperature, humidity and pressure, solar load, and cloud cover. And you might say, well, why does that matter? Does it affect the air that much? A little bit, but what it actually affects is your cabin. If all of a sudden the sun comes out, you're going to need more air conditioner or less heat. The initial battery percentage, so it's going to matter where you started if you can make it to where you're trying to go. All right, so initial battery percentage. The initial battery temperature, that's going to matter because it's going to affect your charging speed and it's going to affect how efficient the car actually is. The gross combined vehicle weight, that's going to matter as well because the more mass you need to move, the more energy it's going to take to do it. Rolling resistance, that one is one that was new recently. I think last year before, sometime in the COVID era, uh, the rolling resistance was added as a calculation to the point where on the keycard cars, it'll actually tell you, hey, it's time to do tire maintenance because we noticed that the right rear suddenly is doing a lot less rotations or a lot more rotations rather than all the other cars or than all the other tires. So now we suspect that it has less tread than the rest. And then this one I liked right here. Hello to everyone who's still reading through this list. they, they have a sense of humor. Uh, I love it when they don't want me to highlight. There we go. Aerodynamic drag coefficient. This one you would think is fixed, but it's not. You like look at the Model 3 and the Model Y. You can add a roof rack, and then all of them can get dirty, or it could snow and stick to the car. Ice. The HVAC consumption, the vehicle-specific energy consumption, bike rack or similar, and if the battery has been preconditioned, and what status it is on that, and more. No driver input is required. So you just put in where you want to go, and it'll tell you your route and how long to stop and charge everywhere. And I've got a video that I'm working on from last year about uh, being able to drive just a little bit faster by short circuiting some of these suggestions. But the key takeaway on all of them is don't leave before it says you can actually make it to the next station. And then Thanksgiving is coming up again, so that makes it a whole nother year. Like I said, so I've got some homework to do after this. But after I finish my homework, I will find the video and get back to editing it. It's all laid out in the right order. Just gotta trim it and then make sure it still applies. All right. Holmar says, long distance travel in my Tesla is incredible. I just punch in the destination. It plans out the stops in nice places. On the East Coast, it just plans out the stops. Cheaper than gas and amazing sound system. And FSD does driving for ... Lisa says it would be nice to have the weather radar overlay, minimally the route destination of the supercharger for those of us who travel in tornado and snow, etc. areas, and not California. I like that suggestion. All right, let's move on to the next one. Close that article from Tesserati. All right, so back to that disclaimer I was making. I'm going to share this tab instead. So with this one, I'm coming at it from a very US, UK sort of understanding of how unions and labor work. Anders says good evening. There we go. And so Tesla Sweden employees were offered payment to join the IF metal strike. On this one, they were offered 130% if they would join the strike against Tesla. And there's so much more to this. So that is all to say on that particular article. And we'll continue on with this. I have like 6 articles and tweets and posts on this. All right, so they were off 130% to strike against their employer. Nicholas says the union does not hold back. This is war. The union's a new step. Stop critical parts for Tesla cars. All right, so this one is interesting in that it has nothing really to do with, well, not nothing, but it doesn't keep the effects within Sweden. What they want to do here is they want to stop a Swedish aluminum parts manufacturer from making parts for Giga Berlin, which they feel will cripple Tesla and make them come back to the bargaining table. When apparently in reality, the parts that they are stopping to be manufactured are rather common, and Tesla has several choices of either picking someone else in the EU to make these for them, or getting them from the China factory or the States or any number of things. So the consensus is that stopping these particular parts will not have the desired effect of forcing Tesla to come crawling back to the table because they are unable to make Model Ys out of Berlin. So the hydro extrusion in Vetlanda manufactures aluminum profiles, which, among other things, are sold to Tesla's factory in Berlin. IF Metal announced a blockade against the production of aluminum parts for Tesla cars at hydro extrusion in the text is small on Vetlanda, I believe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct, but I think I'm in all the letters there. Without that detail, you can't deliver the car, says this person. IF Metal's contract secretary. The trade union of IF Metal is now taking a new step in the conflict with Tesla by filing a notice against the Swedish company that manufactures parts for Tesla. We're doing it to escalate the conflict as Tesla conducts organized strike breaking. They're accusing Tesla of strike breaking. However, when you listen to the reports out of Tesla and the Tesla employees, that doesn't seem to be what's happening there. To strike break, you have to actively take an action. And it sounds like the company is opening the doors, the people are coming to work. If you're not part of a strike, you're not strike breaking. Let's see, where was I with that? So they accuse Tesla of strike breaking and tries every way to round off the conflict measures. This is a step to ensure that it simply becomes more difficult for them. And IF Metal's contract secretary, or says the contract secretary, a notice which comes into effect next Friday is aimed at hydro extrusion in Vetlanda, which manufactures the aluminum profiles. We discussed that part. The notice of a total layoff and blockade against all work with products for Tesla covers about 50 of the company's more than 500 employees. According to IF Metal, the company is the only one in Europe that manufactures the specific part. That's what they say. That's not what any of the analysts say. Without that detail, you cannot deliver the car. So it's very noticeable, says, I'm guessing that's still the secretary. I got a reflection of you guys coming through the word. Through the, maybe I should go with the, instead of the dark mode, I should go with light mode. What effect do you hope it will have? Question mark. Our hope is it will get Tesla to sign a collective agreement with us. All of this boils down to getting them to sign a contract. If that happens, everything can be peaceful, he says. According to the secretary, Tesla has so far given no indication that they would be prepared to sit down and negotiate again. So let me go to the next part of the articles with this before I get into it. I'll leave this up. Oh wait, he's got more. 50 employees will be out of jobs because Tesla will buy this product elsewhere in the world. The blockade of transport, just have to I might have to increase the size of this text. Let me do that now. There we go. The blockade of transport will have just led Tesla to use foreign freight companies. The union is hurting Sweden's unionized workforce more than Tesla. Uh, Tesla will get a German supplier and or begin to manufacture those extrusions themselves. The loser will be Sweden's unionized workforce of 50 people. The Swedish union is hurting Sweden more than Tesla. Um, why does this seem more like extortion than negotiation? So, in speaking with our Swedish friend, um, the unions in Sweden kept strengthening and growing when ours plateaued here. So, from the U.S. looking over, it does seem a little weird that they have so much control, but they have so many unions and they're in a lot of places, but they're not everywhere. Just like here, they're companies that are not partaking. But they tend to be smaller companies that need a lot of flexibility. And let's see. Oh, Andrews has a good point there. I drove past Tesla's premises in southern Stockholm. It looked like the windows were covered so the workers can work. I like that. So they can work in peace without having to look out the window and have people jeering at them. I like it. Uh, yes. So the argument on the union side is that if everybody's in a union, then everybody in the country is on one even level, and they like to frame it as such that oh they can't stomp on you, but in this particular case and many others, Tesla employees and other places that have chosen not to participate, they're actually getting better compensation. And just like here in the States with the the actors and auto and all the other unions here where you'll hear these complaints of the members saying, hey, they reached these agreements and that's not what we wanted, or they didn't get this key thing that we wanted. All right, they did this thing, but it wasn't enough. Or hey, they fought for this and we weren't even asking for that. Where's this other thing that we wanted? And that's becoming more frequent over there as well. And you'll see that when we get to the piece where they interviewed, or not interviewed, the people where we're hearing the worker side of this thing. So let's continue on. I'm not going to close this because we were in the middle of it. We're going to switch this tab though. So Sweden's Tesla boycott snowballs as more workers join the strike. We're going to make this one bigger as well. I think what it is, I just need to switch out of dark mode on this screen. But I don't want to switch out of dark mode on all my other screens. All right, so today more unions in Sweden are joining Tesla's mechanic. It's kind of an interesting way to write that because Tesla's mechanics aren't actually striking. uh, the dock workers and a lot of folks around them are. You've got the mail. You've got the dock workers won't be unloading any Tesla vehicles. The maintenance crews won't be cleaning up Tesla stores, and broken superchargers won't be getting repaired. Next week, even Tesla mail won't be delivered. For a country with only relatively few Tesla employees, Sweden has become a thorn in Elon Musk's side. As the existential battle of wills heats up, thousands of workers are refusing to deal with Tesla in any way until it signs an agreement with the country's Tesla mechanics, who, again, we haven't got to them yet. They don't want coverage. Uh, this cooperation of the unions is something we sometimes see here, but we don't see it a lot over here. We saw a little bit of it with the last media strike where you had the actors and the writers, and they were helping each other out, but not necessarily uh, not necessarily everybody was involved in this. But over there, strikes are more rare, and so to help them end more quickly, uh, you'll see affiliated unions also joining in and bringing things to a stop until the target comes back to the table and acquiesces. Let's see. But one other thing our Swedish friend brought up is that this is also particularly hard for Tesla because it would be, if not their only, pretty much their only union shop, which then exposes them to more collective bargaining around the world. In the same way that, well, not in a similar way that say Amazon and Starbucks didn't want their people uh, collective bargaining. I say it's similar because I don't see Tesla doing active strike breaking and retaliation like we saw with some of those other companies. Let's see. The strike originally started when workers at 7 repair shops staged a walkout, but has rapidly picked up steam. And again, no Tesla employees are off the job, but all these other folks are. The Swedish Transport Workers Union said it would block all Tesla vehicles at the country's ports starting today if Tesla wouldn't sign a collective bargaining agreement with IF Metal, which represents some of the Tesla mechanics, which wishes to represent some of the Tesla mechanics among its 300,000 members. They don't represent them if they haven't signed the contract, Bo. This article is very much uh, biased. The Swedish Transport Workers Union represents 57,000 workers in the country, and that boycott started with 4 Swedish ports on November 7th, but is expanded to all of the country's ports today. IF Metal has been striking since October 27th. So another thing our Swedish friend pointed out is that um, the way things are structured over there, you've got a collaboration between uh, a lot of the reporting and the government and the unions. And so when we hear these stories, we don't always hear the whole story. We will hear what they want us to hear. And not in like a cabal way, but just like you just won't hear like we used to have in the States, we used to have more balanced news before uh, the the rules and laws were rescinded. So it's kind of like here, like there's a narrative going on. Let's see. Tesla first entered Sweden in 2013 and has said that it follows Swedish labor market rules, which they do. But our Swedish friend pointed out that the rules and laws are not as comprehensive as we'll find in other countries because the collective bargaining covers so much of the other half of that they didn't need to make a law. They didn't need to like make an OSHA standard, for instance, that kind of level of regulation because it's just handled already. All right, let's see. Unions are an essential part of the Swedish labor market model, with about 90% of the workforce belonging to trade unions and protected by employee contracts that work to standardize pay, insurance, and pensions, as well as protect worker conditions. And that's what you traditionally expect a union to do. Musk is also facing a union bid in Berlin at the Gigafactory, Germany. One of 6 such plants worldwide, and is the only factory in Europe. In the US, the Tesla has so far been successful at stifling union. What? All right, like I said, this article is written in such a way. I wonder where this person is from and who it is. This doesn't. I didn't think it was Fred. Jennifer. Uh, okay. So I wonder if she kind of, like I said, it's not written very impartially. I wonder if she kind of leans towards all collective bargaining. It doesn't sound like the way somebody in the U.S. who's pro-union would write it. Let's go on to the next one. Still on the same topic. Tesla employee laments escalating union strike in Sweden. Why is nobody listening to us? Is the translated title. All right. Yeah, so I can read this one with the white background on the small screen, which is interesting though, because if I put it in like teleprompter mode, it's white on black, but the text is huge. Amidst the contrasting narrative surrounding the ongoing strike against Tesla in Sweden, there's one group that has mostly remained silent. I don't know if they've been silent as much as nobody's been asked them what they wanted. Tesla employees themselves. And if a recent post from what appears to be a Tesla employee is any indication, it would appear that the company's workers are getting quite exasperated with the union's ongoing strikes. And from what we've heard in the past regarding what's going on here is that they already get what they want from Tesla. They're getting more compensation than they would on the union plan, and they're happy. Let's see, two. There are mostly two contrasting arguments in the escalating conflict between and Tesla Sweden and IF Metal. The union claims that it is fighting to secure a collective agreement with Tesla for the sake of the company's workers. Tesla, on the other hand, has claimed that it already offers equivalent or better agreements than those covered by collective bargaining. An opinion piece published in this newspaper, a daily newspaper in Sweden, suggested that Tesla employees are getting frustrated because nobody seems to be listening to the people who are actually working for the electric vehicle manufacturer. The piece's author clarified that Tesla workers are afraid not of the vehicle maker, but of the union itself. And says Tesla's the best employer I've ever had. I have a chance at reading this. Is that a picture we can click on? Nope. Why is nobody listening to us who work at Tesla? You read that 130 car mechanics have gone on strike. The fact is that no one in our factory has gone on strike at all. Are we afraid? Absolutely. Not for our employer. Are we afraid of IF Metal? Yes. We are afraid of the union. I have received threats of dismissal from, I guess I don't know who that is or what that is. They have written that I'm a traitor who does not stand up for my colleagues, etc. I enjoy my job. In fact, Tesla is the best employer I've ever had. I used to work at another workshop that had a collective agreement where we were much worse off, which is why I chose Tesla. I chose Tesla because I want to be part of and contribute to a greener transition. Tesla is a car company that is responsible for the largest part of the green transition in Sweden, and I'm proud of it. Why does IF Metal continue to threaten us all the time just because we democratically chose not to have a collective agreement? It is actually us who it's actually us service technicians, not car mechanics, who do not want a collective agreement. I don't know if they're pointing out that they aren't quite the same thing as a car mechanic. I'm not sure there. I'm going to make it bigger still. I feel like I'm getting old. The union threatens not to clean our facilities. Are we to work in dirt and misery? That's actually what they want. They want you to pressure Tesla to come to the table so that you don't have to work in squalor. If IF Metal's agenda to make sure that is it IF Metal's agenda to make sure that we feel bad at work? Yeah, it is, because then they can say, "Oh, look, we made it so that you're comfortable at work again." uh, if IF Metal and their LO chairman, who thinks it is better than we are, who thinks it is better that we are unemployed rather than that we are better off without a collective agreement. And they say that. I don't know if they actually believe that. um, that they're telling the world. Let us 137 test service technicians vote on a collective agreement instead let democracy have its way. Is it the case that democracy does not exist in Sweden and in the trade unions anymore? Question. So that would be the quickest way to deal with all of this mess is just ask them. I have a feeling that they haven't met some kind of criteria to have it distributed to a vote, but it sounds like if they did vote on it without external pressure, that they would all vote no. Because as we saw, none of them joined IF Metal on their own. and none of them went on strike before or after in solidarity or because they joined IF Metal. IF Metal Strike General, this person, described the strategy. There will be serious disruptions in production, and that is, of course, the aim. That's what strikes are for. Without that detail, you cannot deliver a car. There is a very high risk that there will be serious disruptions in production, and that is, of course, the purpose for us to get Tesla to sign a collective agreement, he said. Uh, Rockets go up and unions go, let the workers vote. If the majority wants, so be it. Um, and the unions wonder why their numbers are dwindling. Um, they are trying to stall that, but their numbers are dwindling both over there in Sweden and over here in the States. Uh, yeah, that actually would be useful to have a union in some of those places. Uh, I can't even believe this is allowed. That's just bullying mafia style. The only reason they want an agreement is because they don't have one, not because the employees actually need or want one. It is about keeping the union relevant. I hope other companies in Sweden tear up their agreements because of this. Uh, I would again put that to a vote and let the employees decide. If they don't want it, then yeah, kick them out. Not the employees, but the. Hey man, think of all those poor union reps who'd be out of a job if the unions folded. I mean, they have family and mortgages too. What they do without the ability to skim money off the top of those union dues. I've heard that in Sweden they still also have some of that going on, just like we had over here. All right, so let's go back to the tweets. Yeah, like I said, I'm not the best person to cover this, but I did want to bring you the latest developments of it. And at first, I came at it from a very U.S. centric thought pattern. And I was like, yeah, this is ridiculous. But now I'm like, is it just the way it is over there? And really, what it comes to is I'm just not properly calibrated in how to think about this. But in terms of practicality and actually what the people have asked for, what the people want, I sympathize with that. Unions don't care about insert any country they occupy. They only care about themselves. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. Upton Sinclair. I agreed with the photo, but not with the. Why does it seem more like extortion than negotiation? Nicholas says because it is. All right, so then here's before I talk to my Swedish friend. Here is some stuff that I wrote. If the employees wanted to join, I would support this, but neither the employees nor the company want anything to do with it. Stopping their mail and trying to shut down the company seems really stupid. If the company doesn't want you and the employees resent you, then is that worth uh, a few measly dues? And I had another comment in here. My brain just melts. How the heck is this even legal? Are there no supplying contracts in place? It's a different world. Not anymore, I guess. Wait, so now they're dragging Giga Berlin into this too. WTF? Yep. I'm speechless, to be honest. This will not end well for IF Metal. I am 100% sure of it. It's just a question of how long they will be allowed to continue this charade. Nicholas says, this will be the beginning of the end for IF Metal, Elo, Fora, and many more. So all of those are different unions. And he wrote something there that looks like Swedish. Let me open it in a new tab and see if I can translate it. And so again, my Swedish friend pointed out that there's a spectrum of politics, and not everybody is in lockstep on this situation. All right, so let's share what he tweeted there. Hello, folks. Know that one is on the way out and one is on the way in. In. But wouldn't it be great if the entrepreneurs fixed an entrepreneurial package for employees instead of for them? Even I, who am not a union member, pay into fora for the staff because it is a common option, but want to end it as soon as possible. Today, there's a guarantor employee, which is good insurance, so it'd be nice to have a pension as well. Can you fix it? Yeah, I mean, I think a pension would be important, and that's something that the unions used to provide historically. My Swedish friend is a member of a union, and let's see. 0100 says hello, hi, good to see you. All right, so let's see if I find my other post, and then we'll move on to more fun topics. Tools for aluminum extrusion are quite small and very fast to make new ones. There's lots of extrusion suppliers in Europe, which, as we saw in the articles, IF Metal claims there's not. They could easily move that tool as well. It's small enough to be in a small bag and usually not too heavy. Yep, Tesla could, but IF Metal thinks that Tesla is like any other regular OEM, which would have impacted them big time, but not Tesla. And that's the other problem you run into is if you do like the U.S. media and U.S. Stock folks do and treat Tesla as a stodgy old car company that does the same things as everybody else. If you think that something is hard for them and it's not, you're fighting a company that doesn't actually exist. I mean, you think you're fighting Tesla, but your concept, your working mental model of them just doesn't match the way they actually work. And let's see, wondering if Hydro has prohibited its 3 factories, Photo 1 in Deutschland, from providing extrusion. If so, Sweden will be cut off. 20 other European suppliers, see Photo 2. Oh. It could be, but don't you think they will import from Shanghai first, which would then make it themselves? But if other suppliers could do it fast, that would be an easy choice. 2 points. Tesla has the CAD/CAM files on every extrusion needed. Yeah. Why would they not know how to make their cars? So Tesla simply sends the file to one of 20 companies in Europe, asks for a bid. Second, Tesla, $23.87 5 years ago, adjusted for splits. Today, $233.59. So $300 invested 5 years ago is $2,900 today. Keep investing, friend. Again, this is not a stock show, but I did. All right, so the strike at Tesla Sweden is hilarious. Not a single employee is striking, and insane speed as usual. So then I said, that's why I'm confused with this. I thought they hated scabs. Looks like the union is the scab here. Nobody at the company wants them. They say that they've got a better deal. The 130% offer was confusing, since if they were going to be paid less, do you strike for a few days at a bump and then get a permanent pay cut? Then what? Right. All right. So again, that was written before I got a better understanding of it, and my compassion for the workers and what they want is still quite high. And again, if they want a union, let them do it. If they don't want a union, and their company doesn't, because if they don't want one, but the company wants one, they're still going to have one. But if they don't want one and the company doesn't want one, stay out of their business. It's like a lot of the politics going on over here for stuff that people don't want, and is none of the people who's pushing it on them's business. Leave them alone. But again, like I said, things work differently over there, and I have to calibrate that. The fact that I'm not uh, thinking of it exactly how it goes down over there. All right, so next we're going to load up some more articles, and we talked about something last week with the Cybertruck, and Tesla changed their mind. Rivian did something. How about when I talk about electrifiable things, what about electrifying the pavement itself? Sounds a little weird, but once we talk about it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Uh, and it's not literally the pavement, but you'll see. Talk about canoe. We'll talk about cruise a little bit. There's a lot more that happened with cruise than the article I included. And then we talked about Mercedes and their charging. We talked about this with Patrick. We talked about Mercedes and their charging network. Good developments with that. And then we'll talk about Michigan pulling to California. Talk about Polestar. GM. GM likes the idea of gigacasting all of a sudden. And then we'll talk about Toyota. All right, so now I need to move you guys from the window with all the articles that I just loaded up into a new window. Move tab to new window. And then I need to switch into this first tab. Shut this tab instead. Close the old one. Put you guys back up in front of the camera. Whoa. Like I said, Apple knows best, but they don't read my mind. Okay. Have we frozen? My camera is frozen, it looks like. Let's go over to YouTube. It says we're good. It says we're online. Okay. I just don't think it likes what I'm doing here. Like I said, new laptop eventually. So Tesla has removed all language from the page that said you can't resell or flip your Cybertruck within 1 year from delivery. And not all language, just the Cybertruck only portion that we read last week. Remember, I went from Sawyer or whoever's tweet into the actual order agreement document from Tesla, and they had the no resellers, and then they had Cybertruck only underneath that no resellers. The Cybertruck only portion is gone, and everybody is ecstatic. I can flip my Cybertruck now. I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. I would caution that what's probably happening is Tesla is looking at modifying that agreement. They're gonna do it a little different than what they did, and that by the time you can actually order, you'll find that there's a different version of that clause in there. Let me check the audio, because even though the video's frozen. Okay, so we got audio. I wonder if the camera turned off. I don't see the light anymore. Let me get in here and reset that. Yeah, the camera died. No, I don't want to turn my phone into webcam. Let's see. Well, I don't need 60. I use 30. And we're back. Okay. Let's go back to the notes and you guys and the notes. Woo, that was fun. All right, so like I said, I wouldn't expect that it will be easy enough to flip a Cybertruck as far as sales. Don't count on it. But if that was your plan at the moment, there doesn't appear to be anything other than the existing reseller clause to stop you. So kudos to you. And I guess to anyone else who wanted to pay scalper prices on a Cybertruck. Don't pay scalper prices, then people won't have an incentive to do it. Next article is about Rivian. We're going to share this tab instead. Rivian says fat finger caused software update to brick infotainment systems. Physical servicing may be required. I don't know if this happened after the show or if I just didn't cover it because it seemed a little too salacious and there was no solution yet at the time. Rivian sent an update that messed up the computers, the infotainment computer of several of their vehicles recently, and they quickly stopped distribution of the patch, and then they said you would probably have to bring it in or get them to come out to you. And they found that they had a solution that would actually also work as a over-the-air update to fix it for more people. So let's see. Today's Cars Computer on Wheels on Tuesday. Yes, it was after. Rivian released an OTA update 2023.42.0, promising enhancements to features like proximity locking, vehicle access, and gauge views. However, what was intended as a positive step forward quickly turned into a frustrating experience with some R1T and R1S owners. According to Rivian, the glitch occurred when the wrong build with an incorrect security certificate was inadvertently sent out. The error resulted in bricking the infotainment systems of an unknown number of vehicles. Rivian's VP of software quietly acknowledged the issue, warning, however, that the fat finger mistake could leave affected drivers facing potential physical repairs. And why would a certificate need a physical repair? Well, if you're practicing secure code and you're using code signing, and then you use the wrong certificate, the car should reject the wrong certificate. Green only pointed out that Tesla had something similar, not bricked cars, but where you had to physically get hands on the car to do the update because they had a certificate that expired too quickly. And at the time, Tesla's solution was just to make a 25-year certificate, so that would never happen again. But while being a quick and dirty way to do it, that's not the best way to do it. You want to have your certificates expire and change them out, as well as be able to revoke them should they get compromised. Service will be contacting the impacted customers and will go through the resolution options. That may require physical repair in some cases. This is on us. We messed up. Thank you for your support and patience as we go through this. And then I don't know that this article got the update saying that they got around that. If you cancel the update, despite the glitch, most critical functions remain operational. Critical functions like turn signals, locks, lights, wipers, and backup camera were unaffected. However, the infotainment system, a hub for various features, became non-functional for many. Speedometer, charging, backup camera, locks, lights, and wipers, and turn signals are all still functional with this error, according to Rivian Tracker. Here's what works and doesn't work while we wait for Rivian to release a fix for the failed install. Yeah, this one does not include the update. Let's go to their homepage and see if they cover it elsewhere. Just expand Cybertruck testing to Canada. 10 Cybertrucks on November 30th, according to that person. Swedish labor strife deepens. SpaceX launches new antenna. So this one is basically the thinner, motor-free version of the home dish, the smaller dish. This new one is slightly bigger, but since it doesn't have motors, you have to manually twist it about. And the power consumption went up, and it has the new router that we saw spy shots of. Rivian offers a free wall charger and $2,000 installation credit with R1T purchase. That's really all I had to say about that. I touched on it before. What I'm looking for here is an update on the Rivian situation. I don't know if this one covered it. That was awesome. The FAA gave green light for Starship's second launch and what to expect. That was awesome. So Starship, it's not a movie. There's no such thing as spoilers, is there? Starship, it launched yesterday morning. It did spectacularly well. All the engines stayed lit. The throttle downs and throttle ups happened. Hot staging worked. The boost back burn started, and then watching that one during the boost back burn, it seemed that not all the engines were doing what we expected based on the description, and the flight termination system activated. So the booster was no more, and then The ship continued on for a little while, and all 6 engines had started and were doing their thing. And then, right about the time they were expecting a communications blackout and then handoff between ground stations, the boosters stopped giving that telemetry. And if you look back at the video, it does seem like there was a poof in the tracking video. And SpaceX has confirmed that the ship also self-terminated. And that one was successful. They lighted all the engines. They got on a good trajectory. They had successful hot staging and boost back, and they did not destroy the pad. The pad had no damage, and so not quite what they wanted with all the stretch goals, getting the thing over to near Hawaii, but they made more progress than they made last time. Like they didn't have a problem with engines not lighting. They didn't have massive destruction to the pad. So with the SpaceX method, we're going to see maybe around January, we'll see more launches. And just like we saw with how they learned how to land the rockets, they do an iterative approach. They're not afraid to lose the vehicles because there's no humans on board and there's no paying customers cargo on board. So do something, learn from your mistake. Do something, learn from the new mistakes. Do something, and then hope you didn't make any of the same first sets of mistakes, and keep on going until next thing you know, it's man-rated, and you'll have you going around the moon with your moon project, and then you'll have NASA as well with the Artemis project, and so on and so forth. Eventually, they want to take people to Mars and beyond. All right, so we're back to looking for Rivian. If you heard something about a Starlink IPO, Elon says no. I asked him if that meant no to everything or no, they got some of the details wrong, because Elon said when Starlink becomes cash flow positive, that we would be able to, as members of the public, buy Starlink. And of course, either or. What's going on, Mark?
Hello. How you doing, Kacey?
Quite well.
Good.
Yeah. Did you watch that Starlink rocket or Starship rocket yesterday?
Certainly did. Yeah. It was spectacular to watch.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Was even more interesting is some of the vantage points that got sent in from people that were there. I saw a group of people that were watching from Mexico, and
wow.
They were up close, of course, to the border. So that was kind of cool to watch them, their vantage point. It looked so close, it didn't look safe.
Right. I saw a photo from some folks who were like 6 miles away on a rooftop, and they said these trees are 1 mile away, and the rocket was like 4 to 6 trees high in their view, and the rocket was 6 miles away versus the trees that were a mile away.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
that's incredible.
Spectacular event. The explosion spectacular as well, as they filmed that.
Yes, it was.
That was interesting to watch. I really like that SpaceX is keeping track of the engines that are still lit, and you could see it decelerate when they purposely turn them off, and then when they tried to bring back the booster rocket, you could see it kind of failed with the engine lights again.
Yeah, they didn't all come on the way you expected, and like it was like it looked like the first rocket as far as like the grid that were on, except that it wasn't because they were pulverized by concrete.
Yeah.
Anders says hi, Mark.
Hey, Anders.
All right, so I didn't find the update from Drive Tesla Canada, but I got an update from Drive Tesla Canada. It says update. It looks like Rivian has been able to roll out a software update to fix the issue. There we go. But we had a fun detour on that. We talked about the IF metal strike, and a mutual Swedish friend of ours helped me calibrate my understanding of what's going on over there. And it's accelerating, and we'll see how the actual employees that IF Metal is trying to represent, how they respond, and we'll see how the company responds to having all their critical services and features turned off one at a time. But I thought that I was looking at it from a very U.S.-centric view, because I didn't realize how extensive the unions were in Sweden. All right, so next we've got, I told you that we were talking about electrifying all the things, including electrifying the road itself, right? Well, and I clarified to say that the road is not electric, right? The equipment to make the road is being electrified. Look at that.
So we've got the asphalt layer is being electrified. That makes a lot of sense because those things don't travel very quickly at all. They just crawl.
Right.
As they're putting down an asphalt surface. And of course, electric vehicles get great mileage if you slow down. Yes. So that might be a good fit.
Yeah, and then the asphalt itself is externally heated. It comes from a hot asphalt truck, so it's not like you're wasting battery on keeping that stuff hot.
And what's that pack on the trailer? Is that a generator?
Yeah, it's a power pack. So let's look into how they describe this power pack. You got Leeboy and battery storage maker Portable Electric are working together to electrify the asphalt paving industry. So that's a battery trailer. Like you said, you go a quarter mile an hour. You don't need as much power as 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But even cooler is that they are out of North Carolina. Not what you would normally expect, given the stuff that we've got from them in the last year and a half. So the paver has a 48 kilowatt hour pack and can be charged by 120 volts or 240 volt onboard charger. And the other reason this works so well for them is that it actually does more sitting around than we expect, because it does the dump and then it moves out of the way for the steamrollers and the humans to get to putting the rest of the stuff out. So that was pretty cool to learn. And a large part of the carbon process in making the road is not just the making of the material, but then to actually build the road. You've got these machines that are normally just sitting there idling their diesel engines, and that's not good for the world.
Yeah. I've always noticed a difference between the U.S. and Canada with road laying equipment is that the U.S. seems to use a lot more concrete for paving. Canada almost exclusively uses asphalt.
Yeah.
Except for some of our recently upgraded large highways, everything's asphalt. So that's always something that I've noticed when traveling between the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot to do with our weather, because the concrete is more durable and has a higher capacity than the asphalt, but the asphalt is very recyclable, and it kind of comes out as a semi-liquid, right? So you can just kind of go through and take care of all your potholes, versus the way to repair potholes on concrete is a lot more expensive and labor intensive.
Yeah.
Assuming that you don't just take it all out and relay a new concrete road bed.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the weather, with the freeze and thaw. Tends to crack concrete, and of course it may raise it a little bit, and it's a lot tougher to get it flattened out and back to normal after a season of freezing thawing.
If you don't get the patch correct, then when you get your next freeze and thaw, the patch could actually damage what wasn't damaged already.
That's right.
It goes at a different rate. Yeah. Which is interesting. We saw, what was it, 2 weeks ago, we had an article about how to make the recycled asphalt even more recycled, which is also really cool. So how about we talk about things that ride on the road? Canoe is delivering their first Oklahoma-built vehicles to the state of Oklahoma. And the reason it's worded like this is because it's not Canoe's first deliveries. We saw MKBHD and a couple other people driving around in the Walmart canoes, and I believe it was the Army. One of the armed forces already has their canoes as well, and so this is the next step. That these aren't the ones that are coming from the contract manufacturer. These aren't the ones coming from Canada. No offense, Mark. These are the ones coming from Canoe's own factory in Oklahoma. I wonder if they got the Oklahoma Gigafactory site. That would be kind of justice. For those who aren't aware of that, Oklahoma, Texas, and at least one other state were competing to get Gigafactory Austin, and then Texas won. So congratulations to Canoe.
Yeah, that's great. Get another electric vehicle on the market. That's obviously it's highly customizable to perform different tasks for fleets, and even camping would be a good fit for the Canoe. I've seen the Canoe on a couple of different videos where they're out beating on it pretty hard, going around corners fast and such. It looks pretty stable. And I love that the glass canopy actually extends down to your feet, and you can see part of the road as well, which is kind of a very cool design difference with other cars.
Definitely. And I like the pickup concept they showed us. Like, it's got the stretchable bed and all that. So I hope that they make it, and that they it's good to see these steps. And because the more competition out there, the better for all of us as consumers and government customers and everybody else who's actually buying these vehicles, versus only one made it, so then they get fat and they get complacent, and then we end up with we tweak this color for next year, enjoy. Versus, oh man, these guys have 100 miles more range, so we got to have 200 miles more range, or this much lighter of a battery, this much lighter and cheaper. So competition is fair.
I hope they got the economics correct and they can continue growing, and not be shipping out units that are costing them too much money. That they can actually grow with the expected expansion.
Yeah, and we've seen that with some of the other non-legacies. They kind of bit off more than they could chew, and their costs aren't quite aligned correctly, and it's hurting them. Some of them have already gone out of business. Some of them we hear daily with like a death watch to see when they're gonna finally run out of money, and we don't want them to run out of money. We don't want them to fail, because we want everybody to have the car that fits them.
Yep.
So GM's Cruise has suspended supervised and manual car trips and has expanded probes. It seems like they're going the way of the Uber self-driving program, unfortunately. We talked last week about how every vehicle in their fleet had been recalled because it didn't strike the pedestrian, but it did drag the pedestrian over 20 feet. What it should have done was stopped and turn on the flashers. It stops, turn on the flashers, move to the side of the road, and parked. We haven't heard any updates on the victim, but that could have ended up so much worse than it did. And not to say that wasn't bad. That was horrific. It should have never got that far. So it's good to see them doing the right thing now, but this is a mess.
It is a mess. There's no doubt about it. And of course, with autonomous vehicles, we've always said that there is this issue that you can't foresee all the issues that are going to come with them.
Unknown unknowns.
Yeah, like it's you're unable to plan for all the issues that will appear. And I liken it back to the airplane at the turn of the century.
Yeah.
How many people died in airplanes when they were figuring out what could be done and what couldn't be done? Of course, compared to what the commercial airline industry is today, we're safer to be in an airplane than to be in your car.
It's safer to ride an airplane than walk.
But just like the early airlines of the early 1900s, I can see that this this automated cars, there's going to be some speed bumps along the way, and unfortunately, this is one of them. And I believe that many different organizations are going to see the same pain as they're trying to bring their product to market.
Yeah. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where, I mean, there's still going to be automated car crashes. They're going to be not just safer than humans, but they're going to be just like airplanes, where to the point where when it happens, it's going to be a spectacle every time. And that's fine. Not saying that it's fine that they crash, but it's fine that that's what we want. We want it to be so rare that it's scary when it happens, but we also don't want people to say, "Oh, don't ride in them because they're going to get you hurt." We want them to reach that level of safety. Just like we saw last week, where I switched from talking about Cruise to talking about what Waymo did, where we had that one Waymo vehicle. It did what it was supposed to do. It saw a fire truck. It pulled over to the side of the road, turned on the flashers, right? The problem was it pulled over to the side of the road next to the car that was on fire with the flashers on. Almost got it, but just like Mark said, another unknown.
Yeah.
Hopefully they've adjusted for in their next update. But I was also thinking at that point, maybe when the vehicle does pull over because of an emergency situation, perhaps let the NOC know, the Network Operations Center, and then have somebody check out all the cameras. You've got a lot of them. And then, oh man, there's a firefighter outside our driver's window looking confused. Let's roll down the window and use the speaker that we yell at the passengers to don't touch the wheel. Let's use that to tell the firefighter, hey, what do you need? You want us to go back? You want us to go forward? What? And then they can do it. They and Cruise both had a process for emergency responders to either get them to get somebody in the car or to get themselves in the car, but it doesn't look like that is easy and going the way they planned. So it looks like both of them, assuming Cruise goes back into operation, they both need to work on making it easier to reach the NOC, identify which vehicle needs to have something done, and then either remote controlling the car to do the right thing or just opening the door and letting the firefighter just drive the car out of the way. But these are the kind of growing pains that Mark's talking about.
Yep.
So we talked about last week and the week before, we talked about how Mercedes was going to partner with Cargill Mall Properties and build out a nice charging network, which was really cool. But as MrSupercharger.com here, I wanted to say that, I didn't like the idea that it wasn't that usable at night. And me and Patrick had decided that maybe Mercedes owners don't travel at night, which might be true on the whole. I didn't think there were no Mercedes drivers operating at night.
Do Mercedes have headlights?
Right, exactly. So then the next week, Mercedes announced a partnership with Buc-ee's. And I was like, oh, there you go. Clean bathrooms, 24/7 operation. No big deal. Well, this week, Mercedes has opened their first charging hub for all EV drivers. Talk about incredibly fast. So they obviously had to have already been working on this to get the permits, get the equipment on site. And let's see if it says where this thing is at. They launched it at their headquarters in Sandy Springs, Georgia. So good on them. It's like Mark and I keep saying, if there's no place to in between where you want to go, then it's going to be kind of hard to do long distance trips. And while the EV is great in town, if you want it to not be the EVs, you want it to just be the car, then it needs to be able to be a car. And this is a step in that direction.
Exactly. For those that don't know, Sandy Springs is basically north of Atlanta, up by Marietta. So it's a county that's just to the east of Marietta, Georgia.
Nice. I've been to Marietta a couple times. I like it there. So then, I told you that Michigan is going to get a little more Californian, didn't I? This is what I meant. Michigan is about to pass a 100% clean electricity law, clean electricity by 2040 law. So we now have a drop dead date for dirty energy. Look at that. And Michigan can do this a little easier. If they're right up there by Canada, they got hydropower available to them. They've got all that wind and solar. All you need is battery storage to make sure that when any of those things slow down or when the sun sets, you got still a way to flow the juice.
They also have a few nuclear plants.
Yeah, nukes. They work in the dark, and they don't put anything into the air, and they're a fine choice. France does it a little better in that they reprocess their fuel, but we don't have that prohibition anymore. We just haven't restarted anything beyond small scale experiments and how to reuse that fuel till it's no longer useful as fuel. We use it once, and then we have to figure out what to do with it for the rest of eternity.
And this is interesting that, like we've said before, is that the EV tailpipe, as we've mentioned before, it just gets cleaner over time.
Exactly.
Because as the grid cleans up, as in this particular story,
right,
EVs become cleaner because now they're getting their electricity from renewable or non-polluting sources. And
exactly.
You can't really do that with a ICE vehicle. Right. You're always burning, and in fact, the more that you burn in that car, the worse the pollution becomes in that car. So
exactly.
This is a big plus for EVs that get their energy from Michigan.
Right, and then this just goes to show that's not a hypothetical situation. It's not a talking point. Like literally, all the EVs that are already in Michigan or getting their power from Michigan are overnight. It says that they're going to step up 50%, then 60%, and then 100% by 2040. So if you bought a Nissan Leaf in 2011 in Michigan, and then you just kept it on the road somehow, by 2040, that vehicle is now 100% green.
Yeah,
and then you kept a car on the road for 35 years. So it's even better.
That's another merit badge just there.
Yes. Okay, so my example was a little extreme. In Michigan, no less too, because they are known for their potholes and their salt of the road.
Some of their potholes are the size of Nissan Leafs.
Yes. My first time in Michigan, I watched a lifted pickup truck disappear in front of me because it fell into a pothole. Like, whoa! It was snowing, so I didn't step on the brakes. I just let off the accelerator and gently drifted to the left. And I was in my early 20s then, so that just scared the crap out of me. I'd never seen anything like that. It wasn't a sinkhole; it was just a regular old pothole. Just go. That could have been me. Oh, they were all right, but that was scary. So Polestar has become the latest automaker to plug into Tesla's charging network in China. So Mark was telling us about GM SAIC on the Tesla Life show, how they had joined the Supercharger Coalition in China. And so now Polestar is. So GM, Polestar. So the next question is, who in the existing coalition is going to be next to join in China? It's looking like that's the plan, right? Hey, we already have our agreements. We already know how it works. We got the software. Let's do it over there too.
Yeah, it's looking like a no-brainer for them. If they've already got the agreements in place and they've already got the connection, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, and they don't even have to change the plug.
Exactly. Because
China and Europe, they already have their plug set, and Europe by law. I don't know if China has it by law or just you'll do what the party tells you. Details don't matter there, except that we know.
No, not as much.
Versus here, where like the plug that was the non-Tesla plug was arguably worse than everything else in the world.
Speaking of Polestar, and I know this is a little bit old news, but they debuted a 2024 model that had no rear window at all.
Yeah, tell us why.
I have no idea. I don't know. I didn't read the article, I guess, that far, but I would assume that it's because it was going to be very low optics anyways, because of the aerodynamic of the car, that you always get the smaller than you'd like viewing port with the second row seating with the headrests in the way, and you really get a small amount. So there maybe they looked at it and said, probably we should just drop this, flip over to the rear view camera and show that on the rear view mirror, and everyone's happy.
Absolutely. Part of it was so you notice in your Model 3 where your car cross beam and the roof is, right?
Yeah.
So in their car, it would have been where the window is, and so rather than put it on top of the passengers, they put a little They continued the roof all the way a little bit back further than they would have typically, and then instead of putting a rear backlight, the rear window as they call it, they put the bar in the trunk, and then instead of right on top of the rear passenger side, so you get more headroom this way. But because of where the bar is, then you would have had a useless rear view window. So why put it in?
And what's interesting is when they show the car from the back, it looks like it may even have a window.
It does.
It's just that it's not functional, right? It's and it's a bold move, and I applaud them. I think it's the right move for this particular car.
Definitely. So this one is an interesting one as well. I didn't quite know how to calibrate myself on it. GM has bought Tesla's gigacasting supplier, TEI, according to a report. And what TEI does is they make castings, like the sand castings that Tesla uses as a template to make the gigacast parts. And they do have, 3 other suppliers that do this at scale right now? So GM hasn't crippled Tesla with this. And in fact, this was one of the least invested in suppliers from Tesla that they do this with. So good thing with GM if they're actually going to use it. Weird choice if they thought they were going to hurt Tesla by doing this. And somebody else said, why didn't they just buy the company? Well, if this was one of their least invested suppliers, why wouldn't they buy a company they've already got more money in?
Well, it also could be that GM is seeing the benefits that Tesla has in vertical integration in their supply chain, and know that maybe they are going to start moving towards gigacasting themselves. And you know what? Having some vertical integration built into this new product might be beneficial for them in the long term if they're planning on investing it across multiple models.
Definitely. And then we saw 2 weeks ago or so, one of the companies that makes the gigacast scale machines, one of the ones probably that told Tesla no before before they got it done with Hydra, they managed to make a slightly bigger machine than the gigapresses for the Cybertruck. And not only just did they make it, they actually already have it sold to an unknown customer. And this could be GM or it could be Ford or who knows who it could be. We just know that it wasn't Tesla because they said that it wasn't Tesla. And so obviously, yet again, the industry is seeing Tesla do something and have success with it and just copying it wholesale.
And that's going to happen. Like it's definitely the way that Tesla did it too, right? They did it out of necessity. That they were looking for efficiencies they had to realize in order to make the car at a certain cost. And knowing, for example, that it was better for them to, in the beginning, make their own seats. Another way that they were looking to shake up what a traditional automaker does because they could see that there were benefits in it for them. And being a small company getting started, you need all the efficiencies you can get. The big guys, they can sit on their laurels for quite some time and then say, okay, let's try it out. You know, exactly. We've seen somebody else use it. Let's try it out ourselves. It should work. We've seen somebody else cut their teeth on it. We should be able to get in and make it work for us too. So not a surprise.
Not at all. And speaking of big guys waiting on the sidelines for everybody else to work out the kinks, I decided to deal to buy recycled battery components from Redwood Materials.
A lot easier than mining it yourself, that's for sure.
Exactly. And then you don't have to worry about people asking you, where did you get your cobalt? Where did you get your lithium? Where did you get your nickel from? And obviously with the nickel, if you say I got it from Canada, nobody's going to complain at you. But if you say I got my cobalt from Congo, oh, that's a bad answer.
Exactly. You can say I got it from Colorado, from Redwood Materials.
It's recycled 4 times over. Here's the receipt. and that's the other cool thing about it. We saw the Tesla and the Audi battery passport demo that they gave us. What better way to have a battery passport than to just say, hey, literally, it all came from Colorado, from Redwood on this day. I bought this many tons from them, and here it is. Let's see. So let's see how much they said they're going to buy, because we already talked about them partnering with was it LG? They partnered with a battery company for enough cars enough batteries to build 200,000 cars. And now, with these recycled materials, if they dump this into that same plant, then that's going to be a good head start. Or if they put it into new batteries, then that's that many more cars that they can make. So let's see, this is going to be the North Carolina factory. It's going into production in 2025. And do we have an amount of material? I'm not seeing it in this article. So 20% recycled nickel, 20% recycled lithium, 50% recycled cobalt in the cathode, and 100% recycled copper in the anode. This is a great start. And yes, Toyota has been asleep at the wheel for over 10 years. But when they wake up, they have got some resources and they can move. They've got brilliant engineers and they've got a loyal customer base. So seeing these guys move instead of stepping back, like we talked about some of the other legacies, the ones in Michigan, stepping back and stepping back. Oh, we're gonna wait a year. We're gonna pause. We're gonna think about it. This is something else right here. And then we got another look on it right here. Let's see if they say how much. No, it's the same about the percentages. So if this goes into the existing 200,000 cars, then your car starts out greener than it already was going to be. Like you hear you're just moving the pollution. It costs more in pollution for making EVs. Yeah, it's true, but the EV makes up for it by the end of the second oil change at the latest. And if you have a head start starting with a recycled car, then it could come out of the factory as green or greener than the gas car.
Just like the power grid before, Kacey. This
exactly.
is just going to get greener and greener as time goes along.
Yeah. And then let's see. Let's move you guys back to a new window and then put these. Oh, wow. It moved us to the camera screen. Let's put you guys back and put the articles up on the camera screen. Share this tab instead. Close these ones and pop it up there. So what I'm talking about here, Mark, is the equipment finally arrived, and I'm just getting used to using it.
Okay.
All right. So Joel says that yes, Toyota moves fast, especially when the wheels fall off. Yeah. So hopefully this new this problem with the BZ for the Lexus thing.
Hopefully the recycled batteries will not affect the wheel nuts again.
Yeah, and I don't want to say in fairness, because again, when you've been building a car for 100 years ish, it doesn't matter what bolts you put on it, the wheels should stay on the car. But what they did do was switch from an external where the socket goes around and the nut is in the middle. They went to like an Allen key style where the nut is on the outside and the tool goes inside. But if you're going to make a switch like that, you should make sure that it knows how to stay on the car. It's kind of a core competency at that point. So just a casual 1.9 million kilometers or 1.18 million miles on this Model S. Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
he's going 113 kilometers. You see the picture. Yeah. All right. So then people ask the obvious question on this. So let's switch to this tab instead and take a look. That's awesome. Congratulations. It would be great to know how many battery replacements have been done so far. And as far as I know, it's the third battery, but they were replaced on warranty. So that means that, remember, this is like a 2014 car. So this car has been out of warranty for a little bit. And so for all the batteries have been replaced under warranty and not had another one since then. And all the replacements were refurbished. That's still an achievement. And thank you for your answer. I guess it was replaced twice. So twice. Even rebuilt products are free, which is nice. Yeah, if you're under warranty.
Yeah.
Somebody was complaining about the number of motors, but the thing to remember with the early Model S is what was happening is there was basically a slight misalignment, and the repair was to put a shim in, but the repair to put the shim in took like 15 hours, and the repair to swapping the motor out instead took like an hour or two. So rather than sit there in the shop and pay all these people to do it, they opened up a small refurb factory. They would take in the motors, put the shim in, and then put them back on the shelf. And then to the service center, they would just swap your motor out in an hour. So that you're not paying the labor charge, they're not paying the labor charge, and your car's not down for 2 days while somebody's taking it apart and putting it back together. You come in at breakfast, and then you leave at lunch or dinner time with your car, working as good as it ever did. So that was the deal with the motor replacements, most of them. This is a fun one right here. The 2025 Lucid Gravity was revealed. It's a 3-row SUV with a 708-kilometer range, and it starts under US $80,000, which is smart because if you brought in a car into the States and it didn't qualify for the tax credit, and in fact, next year when we get started, the tax credit is an instant rebate. That would be a miscalibration, and they already are a low-volume manufacturer. They're trying to step it up. The way to think of this is the same way that the Model X is to the Model S. This Lucid Gravity is to the Lucid Air. This is a larger SUV. It's got a 6,000-pound towing capacity, incredible range, but it's not as efficient as the other car. And it's not, well, it is inexpensive comparatively, but it's not as inexpensive to build as a sedan would be.
And Lucid is another manufacturer that's as you mentioned, low volume. And looking to change to medium volume. So exactly. Adding an SUV to their fleet is probably the right move in North America.
Yeah, and then the SUVs, like I said, automatically qualify for more tax credit than the sedan. So they were getting a double whammy on the Lucid Air. It was a car, so it only qualified for 35, and then they were more expensive than that. So like people just walk on by. So this one, if it ships in 2025, should launch with an export, right?
Yeah.
And then this is something they did that I haven't seen anybody else do. They've got a cushion and a pad in the front, so you can actually use it specifically for tailgating rather than kind of use it like people do with their Model X, or purposefully do it like they do with the F-150 Lightning, but it's not as comfortable as hard plastic. It's got a little lip on it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and we saw some of the Tesla engineers doing something similar with the Cybertruck, but it didn't have a cushion built in. So, I mean, I guess you could make one or get somebody in the community to make one for the Cybertruck. But this
looks like a couch with headlights.
Yeah, you sit down and like, oh man, like, can you imagine if they had like projector beam headlights and they had color and you could roll the movie up there? Oh. All right. So as we approach the end of the show, we've got Tesla Roddy is talking about I didn't even talk about the range. As I said, it was longer. I'm sorry, but we'll see when it actually hits the ground. Volkswagen recalls nearly 24,000 ID4 EVs in the U.S. due to flammable interior materials. You guys know I like to do the recall watch, and I missed one on the fossils, and I forgot what brand it was. And it was pretty important, but my notebook just didn't save it when I put it in there. So Volkswagen has recalled 100% of the ID4 electric vehicles in the U.S. due to flammability of the interior materials, according to NHTSA documents. What is the Canadian equivalent called, Mark?
Well, it would be. Oh, I forget. The name of it. It's a ministry. That's so
expect that
Transportation Ministry.
Transportation Ministry. Expect them to be making an announcement soon as well, because our standards here in North America are very closely aligned with U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And if 100% of our cars are at risk for being too flammable, then I guarantee you that the Canadian ones are as well. Yes, hi, sweetie. You want to talk to Mark? Yeah? Well, come over. So so if you own an 94 or know somebody who does, have them pay attention to the mail. And I don't know how you fix this. Do you got to just reupholster the car?
It's probably like a panel replacement or something along those lines. Gotcha. If it's a certain materials in certain areas of the car, they probably will build up a bunch of inventory, call you in, and swap out a bunch of panels, or the one panel that is not compliant.
Gotcha. So the issue will be remedied for free as dealers apply a flame retardant onto the material of the roller sunshade. So this is the roof.
And they're going to be applying a spray to it.
I hope that you get a good dealer.
Yeah, that's a little bit more intense.
Yeah,
but
and hopefully, they put on fresh gloves and you don't end up with fingerprints on your headliner.
Or spray on the inside of your windshield.
Yeah. Now you can't clean it. So just be mindful of this and get in line as soon as they offer you. You don't want a car that's more flammable than required. And then lastly today, we're going to talk about Hyundai is going to sell vehicles on Amazon in 2024. And I found an article that said this is how it's going to work, and that one also didn't save. Are you familiar with this, Mark?
I've heard it, yes.
Yeah, so my understanding is it's going to be very much like when Tesla got caught Elon by surprise by selling their cars on cars.com. What it was really just a link to tesla.com, and it had a referral tag on it, so they knew who to pay for the advertising. And since Hyundai has dealers, unless Amazon has registered themselves as a dealer, it's very unlikely that you're going to be directly doing everything. So think like how you can buy a car through Costco. Costco's not really selling you the car; they've just got a prearranged deal, and then they ship it out of a local dealer to you. It's not like you go to Costco for some tires and a new Hyundai.
Yeah, it's interesting that we've seen some of this previously when it comes to automotive dealers. I'm sorry, not dealers, manufacturers. Yeah. When there's like a end of the line type deal where they've got like a half year model year in between. Sometimes they've got these extra cars that they sell off in bulk, and they use online type scenarios to sell them. But this sounds a little bit more solid that they're going to be offering this, throughout the year. It isn't that they're overstocked in a certain model or trim or color. This sounds like there's going to be some actual selection, which is unusual because, of course, manufacturers have spent a great deal of money on web presence and, of course, connection to their dealer network. It's going to be interesting to see if this is going to upset anybody that is a current dealer if these sales are ongoing.
Yeah, I think that if it's we've seen dealers complain about a lot of stuff that just gets them more sales. But I think the smart dealers, if all of a sudden you're getting like 90 more pre-sold Hyundais coming through, where you don't get to upsell them on undercoating and you don't get to negotiate the price, but the car is sold and it's got a nice profit with it. The smart dealers aren't going to complain about this, but some of the greedy ones will be like, "Man, I didn't get to get them all the extra stuff that I normally do." And
exactly
price.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out, but. I agree. When you look at the Tesla model, where you can purchase online completely, or you can, of course, you can buy at the showroom as well. It looks like Hyundai is looking to bridge that gap and give its customers some extra abilities.
Definitely. Oh, and on the same vein as we saw with Michigan, Dan sent us that Maryland is now on track to be coal-free by 2025 with the announcement of the retirement of the Warrior Run plant. And always good to see that as well. And just like Mark said, now if you're in Canada, in Maryland.
I am in Canada.
If you're in Maryland, your EV is suddenly cleaner than before, and your house too. And so, Mark, where can folks find you throughout the week?
You can find us on our Twitter feed at the Tesla Life, and we're all about Tesla and try to post news throughout the week in between shows, which happen every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. on YouTube. You can look up the Tesla Life and subscribe to our free podcast there as well.
Definitely check them out on YouTube. You got anything you saw throughout the week that might be interesting to talk about real quick?
Yeah, sure. Put me on the spot, Kacey. Go ahead.
Well, there was the rocket.
There was a lot of talk about the rocket. Yes, indeed. Canada recently hit 200 superchargers. In fact, we're at 201. That was good. And actually, I've seen some more rollouts of some V4s are starting to come online in the U.S. That's great to see.
Any rumors of the V4 in Canada?
I'm sorry?
Any rumors of the V4 in Canada yet?
None yet of anything that's out there. But a new Magic Dock did show up in Calgary, Alberta. just recently. So
Connecting the dots.
so that's was it from Yukun. Yukun had indicated he was from Calgary, so in the chat room. So yeah, there's a new magic dock being set up right now. The handles are being swapped out for magic docks as we speak.
Sweet. All right. Thank all of our members and all of you guys for your time watching this today. I want to thank Mark for coming through and sharing with us. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.